Yes, everyone, what's going on? Stephen Howson, welcome back to Transfer Talk. And this is an interesting one. United have got their beady little eye on Jean-Clair Todibo. Now, there's Romano giving it the big licks, and he says, understand Todibo will be valued by Nice at around about 40 million for the summer transfer window. He's already been on United's list since last summer, but more clubs in the Premier League not only keep monitoring him. So he could be on the move. Now, we've done scout reports on him, and we've spoken about the possible little bit of favour that we could get by Nice, let's just say, being friendly with us, because I believe that the club have to demonstrate that there's separation in terms of running of the clubs. Now, I think United paying a nice price rather than just loaning or some equally a bit bent of Todibo would be a way to demonstrate that. And it'll be interesting to see how United and Nice actually do demonstrate that. That there is separation in terms of the management and the running of them, because that is going to be a potential pitfall, and you better believe all the haters are going to be all over that one trying to parcel it up. But I think that's a very interesting one, and to me it makes a lot of sense. I think he's a very good footballer, one that probably could come in and start, and United absolutely need centre-halves. Now, over the last 48 hours, I don't know if it's just the lull of international football, journalists have started to go turbo in terms of stating who United want. In the last 48 hours, I've seen that United are buying a striker, that we are buying a right back, a left back, and a centre half, as well as a central midfielder. Sound. So it's a lot of players that we're bringing in then already, isn't it? It sounds like a lot of guesswork, in all honesty. I've also seen there's a brilliant tweet by Sky Sports which says, no decision has been made on Ten Hag's future, and then the next line says Ten Hag will be in charge next season. That smells like a decision, lads. I'm going to be honest. You can't say no decision has been made and then tell that they've made a decision. Do you know what I mean? Do better. Shit journalism. Honestly, absolutely dog poo journalism. And then Mike McGrath's talking. He says Casemiro, whether he stays at Manchester United this summer will determine whether the club look at another central midfielder. We are going to be looking at right back, so he was one of the ones that was saying that. United are supposedly in the market for a striker to support Rasmus Hojlund in the summer. Branthwaite is being looked at by United as a possible summer target and is one of the priority areas to bolster for next season. United have yet to push forward with the summer plans, but Branthwaite is regarded as one by the club as a promising homegrown prospect at centre-half. Now, the homegrown factor does mean something because it is a factor that you have to consider when you're assembling your squad. However, what you would get for the money they would require for Branthwaite, I'm going to Todibo. I'm going to Todibo and I'm getting another defender as well. Probably someone that's got Champions League experience for the price of one times Branthwaite. You're going to get mugged off going to the Premier League. I wouldn't necessarily veto every single Premier League signing as an option. I'm just saying you can't just shop exclusively in the Premier League because your pockets ain't that deep. When financial fair play is creeping up over your shoulder, you're going to have to go shopping in Lidl occasionally. And that might be Ligue 1, it might be the Austrian Prem. You might have to go to some places where it's a little bit cheaper. You can't go to Waitrose every single time. You're going to have your arse handed to you. Meet Unat Cat says, thoughts on Alphonso Davies would be a perfect long-term player. Like you getting him. Red All Over says, Sky has been scraping the barrel for sources. Jonathan says, finally caught alive. 6'4" Ahmed says, I genuinely think we're looking for players in every position except the 10 and goalkeeper. Alex says, Branthwaite and Onana double swap for Maguire and McTominay. Do you know what? As most people are going to go, what? No. Sean Dyche might be one of the people that doesn't say no to that, in all honesty, with you. Who knows? Chima says Kobe and Garnacho will cost us 300 million in the current market. Luckily, we've already got them, and they cost us we actually paid for Garnacho, didn't we? Which I believe was something in the region of 500k, something like that. Bargain. Sacred says, I saw Todibo giving the captain Dante a major bollocking during Nice's last game. He's got personality. Yeah, Notch says, I'd like us getting Todibo. I'd like us getting Todibo. 6'4 Ahmed says, I still dream about Theo Hernandez. Jonathan says, would I take Frimpong as a right winger instead of a right back? See, here's a weird sort of scenario that you find yourselves in. When people are fullbacks that are playing advanced, it's different to being a right winger. Like people, I used to see this with people all the time saying, oh, played the low right wing, he's got a good cross on him. There's more to being a right winger than just having a good cross on you. And there's more to playing right wing than you're probably seeing out of Frimpong. Frimpong's probably the closest one that could do it because his position is very high. But he benefits from sort of being like an extra man pushed forward. So the defence is kind of already occupied with the forward three and he comes in as like a fourth man. It's sort of similar to the way that McTominay benefits from the fact that there's always another striker on the pitch. And in modern football, you're not dealing with teams that have two strikers and two wingers very often. It doesn't really come up. So what McTominay benefits from is one of the centre-halves is going to be tracking Hojlund and marking him tight. And then McTominay coming from that slight bit deeper and crashing the box benefits from being someone that isn't picked up because he was an extra runner into the box. And it's very similar with being like a wing back or a full back when there's already a forward in the sort of right side. You're the extra guy that's coming in rather than the main man that starts there. It's completely different. It's completely different. You know, there's a lot more freedom and space comes with that. Like people say, oh, Trent would be a good right winger. He wouldn't have the space. Like most of the time, Salah's playing with his back to goal. Trent's always playing facing forward. It's totally different. Like people just think, oh, he could do that, but he can't do that. Josh says, would feel more comfortable letting Varane go, getting Todibo in. Yeah. Gary says, Rio was in my hometown Sligo yesterday. Heard he's a diehard Sligo Rovers fan now. Well, that's got to be the truth. Red All Over says, so like how you like a +1 in defense, it's a +1 in attack intentionally. Sort of, yeah. When you're on the ball, each manager will have a certain area. Like the fundamentals of football are trying to get +1 over your opposition and trying not to get +1 yourself. Or trying to maintain +1 defensively yourself. So you see the way Pep throws his two creative midfielders forward. That puts 5 into a back line. When he comes up against the back 4, he's +1 on that back 4. Therefore, he's got an extra man. Therefore, he's always got somebody to pass the ball to. Liverpool will do it in similar but different sort of ways. They're going to use the mobility of the midfield to try and outwork you, put more men into the area. They used to have, when they was more successful, they had a false 9 that would come in and overload the central area. So now there's 4 playing against 3. Like Sir Alex Ferguson said this about Pep 15 years ago. They would forego a forward to dominate midfield because he wants to own the ball in midfield. Pep's changed a little bit with the way he does it now, but that Sir Alex, when he was playing, he said that if we put 5 in midfield, they will put 6 in there because that's what he wants to do. He always wants to have that free man to pass to. Would I be taking Oliver Giroud on a free, meant to be going to America? Not the worst signing, in all honesty. If he comes on to be impact and give Hojlund a night off every now and then, no, I wouldn't be against that on a free whatsoever. It's a great price. Court says FIFA and Pro have ruined perception of playing different positions, probably. Sam says, I think the 6 is still the most crucial position we need to fill. A good one would allow a back 4 some breathing space to develop. I agree. Ed says it felt like prime Barca had 6 in midfield. Yeah, it did. And sometimes they actually did, in all honesty. Yeah. Lucas says, the talk about a right back I get, but shouldn't we worry more about the left back, Steve? Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Did I just escape from prison? Do I look like it's a Guantanamo? It's just it's an orange jacket. I like it. Obviously, hence I bought it. Movenden says, I would take Paulina in a heartbeat. I don't think you'd be on your own with that one, mate. I think there'd be a lot of takers for that one. James says, do I think there's merits to an older striker to back up Hojlund to avoid a clash of 2 young players, both hungry, Cavani-style signing? Yes, I would have that. Roloa says, what about Schlotterbeck? Yeah, I like Schlotterbeck. Schlotterbeck was one of the players that through Rio said, what do you reckon, what United saying about him? And they came back and said, this was when Ralph was still there, said Ralph isn't fancying him. And the reports that they had independently that he weren't that good. And then he goes and signs for Dortmund. Nice one. Yeah, I would have him. I think he's great. And I think he's exactly what United could do with, to be honest. Although he would play the exact same position that we've got Martinez for. So now you need a right footer, really one. Abhinav Verma says, Liverpool fans are exceptionally delusional, comparing Van Dijk to Maldini. Liverpool fans are on another fucking planet, full stop, generally, right? Over the last week, I have seen Premier League 11s with 6 Liverpool players in there. 6. One of them, Steven Gerrard, which is... There's so much competition. I mean, the Paddock FC players chat literally started talking about this the other day because Ronaldo tweeted his ideal 11 and the group chat started trying to have him off with it because they didn't agree. And it's purely going to be down to people's opinion on this one. My general vibe of it is I don't know if you can do an all-time Premier League 11. My perspective of that comes through chatting to my granddad because he says, imagine trying to do an all-time United 11. Is it even possible? Because you're probably going to have to leave out someone like a Duncan Edwards. If you don't leave out a Duncan Edwards, you're leaving out a Keane or a Robson, and that's criminal. You can't leave them people out. So I would prefer to do it as like an 11 of a decade. So let me find the 11s that I did, and you can agree or disagree. But 6 Liverpool players in an all-time 11, right, of the Premier League. There's been 30 Premier League seasons. Liverpool have won fucking one of them. One of their players has won none of them. In the meantime, when United won 13 titles, we did so in 20 years. So we won 70% of the available titles to us, 65% of the available titles to us in that period of time. Like, how are you not having the vast majority of Premier League players in an all-time 11, players from that ilk? Maybe some lads that have won 3 in a row. I don't know. Call me old-fashioned, right? Ridiculous. Genuinely ridiculous. Like, how are you putting Steven Gerrard in there ahead of the likes of Vieira, let alone the likes of Roy Keane? So let me find it. Where was it? First chat. There's a lot of shit waffled in here, so it might take me a little bit of scrolling. And I broke it down to my team of the 90s, the 2000s, and the 2010s. The 2020s one will be quite an interesting one, but obviously we're only a few years into that at the moment. So having 6 Liverpool players in there, right? Even the ones that have won 1 is just insane. And then you say, okay, so you think 5 of these Liverpool players who all played together are the greatest that have ever played in the Premier League, but they couldn't retain it. And then they'll go, yeah, well, this City team is really good. But you've put none of this City team in. Make it make sense, you absolute fuckwit. Anyway, here's my all-time 11s per decade, which I think is the fairest way to do it. So the 90s, I've gone with Schmeichel, Gary Neville, Adams, Stam, and Irwin. Beckham, Keane, Vieira, and Giggs as my midfield. Shearer and Cantona as my strikers. And there's a serious amount of talent been left out of that one. The noughties, I've gone with Cech as the goalkeeper. I've gone with G. Nev, Rio Vidic, and Ashley Cole as the defence. I've gone with Gerrard, Lampard, and Scholes as the midfield. I've gone with Rooney, Ronaldo, and Henry as the forward line. And again, I'm still leaving some serious players out of that one. 2010s, De Gea, Walker, Van Dijk, Kompany, Evra, Kante, Fernandinho, De Bruyne, Salah, Kane, and Hazard. And the likes of Bale, RVP, Suarez, probably all deserve a word. The 20s, it's fucking City plus Salah, probably. Ross says, I bet they put Jurgen Klopp as the best manager. They already have done, right? So here's the thing. Liverpool fans, if you listen to them, and I went and did a thread of this on Twitter. I went and found a thread of this on Twitter where every single player, or position. So they didn't have a full 11, but they had like 9 positions. They had the best in the world of. So they had the best right back, the best left back, the best centre half, but didn't have both centre halves. So, do you know what I mean? They had one of the best central midfielders, I think it was in Thiago that they said this too. They had the best keeper, they had the best right winger, they had the best left winger, and people were literally calling Firmino the best striker in the world, which, okay. They had the best manager, they had the best fucking fans. And obviously it means more to them. It doesn't mean the same as it means for everybody else. Whatever. So, how, if you've got the best of all of that, did you win one fucking title? Maybe you're full of shit. Maybe that's the one. Ed says, I know he weren't in there, but Overmars is definitely in the 90s argument. He's not above Giggs. He was a hell of a player, but he's not above Giggs. I'll tell you that for free. People saying rude. Yeah, okay. I don't disagree. One of the best strikers I've ever seen. But who'd you drop him for? Or who'd you drop for him? Ronaldo, Rooney, and Henry? No. Probably all should be in there, none. Skipper says, I love how much Liverpool fans really hate you. I had one this morning saying, I wish you'd fucking die. Sweet. Here's the thing. I don't make content for them. I don't understand so-called Manchester United content creators that are liked by opposition fans. You're fucking doing it wrong. Not supposed to be liked. City fans hate me. Liverpool fans hate me. There's probably a fucking right load more hate me as well. But guess what? You find a fuck for me to give, and I'll give it. Mike says Matt Letizia. Matt Letizia does not come anywhere near a Premier League all-time 11. Not even in his own head, surely. Adam says a Hall of Fame without Giggs is a joke. That's a science fact. That's an absolute science fact. Would I swap Sancho, Maguire and Greenwood for Harry Kane? I don't think Bayern would. Ed says, any thoughts on Kochu at Benfica? Gives me Jorginho vibes. I think a lot of people give you that sort of vibes playing at Benfica, to be honest. Stephen says, Liverpool fans think their club is the holy grail of football. Lee says, Les Ferdinand on Sticks Football the other day reminded me just how many great centre forwards were around in the 90s, not just English ones either. Fact. Like the 90s had some, like look at, Rio might have said this the other day on the podcast, but look at Euro 96 and how many didn't go. So Sheringham and Shearer was what was taken. And then you also had Ian Wright, Robbie Fowler, Andy Cole. Andy Cole didn't get a sniff. Andy Cole's fucking unreal. And unlucky. Him and York are unlucky not to be in a Premier League 11, frankly. Would the United 99 team beat the current City? Yes. And if you don't think so, you need to watch more of the United 99 team. And you can say football has changed, this, that, and the other. Okay. They're still not a fitter player than, and in both senses of the word, actually, than David Beckham, right? There still isn't a fitter player than David Beckham. David Beckham finished the bleep test. I don't hear of players finishing the bleep test right now. So you go and find me a player that does that and then come back to me. And Joe, who was right behind him? Dwight fucking York. So Dwight York had like as many or more goal contributions than Howland had, playing against far fucking tougher opposition and far closer opposition. And never gets talked about. 29 goals, 20 assists. Why is that not talked about? I'll tell you why it's not talked about and why the likes of Steven Gerrard get elevated. Liverpool for 25 years had no one worth a wank to talk about. So every bit of their energy went into fucking wanking Steven Gerrard off, right? Steven Gerrard would not come anywhere near a Premier League 11 if everyone's being real. But the fact that Liverpool fans, which is a big fan base, advocate for him and him alone means that they force him through. Now, if I said to you, strikers that have played for Manchester United in the Premier League era, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would go down in some Premier League All-11s if he played for another team. If he was like Newcastle, they would put him in, or they would advocate for him to go in. He gets nowhere near the conversation for Manchester United. He's a club legend because of what he stood for, but no one puts him anywhere near any all-time 11s. But his goal ratio was like only bettered by fucking Aguero. Andy Cole plays for any other club is a shoo-in for an all-time 11. Probably doesn't get near it because he's not rude. You've also got RVP. You've also got Rooney. You've also got Cantona. You've also got Dwight York. Do you know what I mean? Manchester United have been blessed, spoiled even, over the last 30 years with some of the greatest footballers. Now, his peak was before my time. But are we having any conversation without Brian Robson? And then you've got Roy Keane. And then you got Paul Scholes. And honestly, I'm laughing seeing how many people was questioning whether Michael Carrick should go into a Premier League all-time 11. You just read his CV and how important he was to that Manchester United team. No United fan is going to advocate for Michael Carrick to go into a Premier League all-time 11. But we should. Because he would be justified in doing that. I think over the time Michael Carrick was at Manchester United, was there a more consistent central midfielder in the league than him? Probably not. But he won't get advocated for, therefore he won't end up in like an all-time 11 argument. Because United have got far too fucking many. David Beckham should be, he won't. Giggs should be, he won't. We try and pick and choose our battles, but even that, like even when people try and talk John Terry up to being the greatest Premier League centre-half, he's not even in the top 10. He's not even the greatest Chelsea one. He's not even a great English one, so I don't know what fucking planet people are thinking John Terry's the greatest centre-half the Premier League has ever seen. Here's who it is. It's Jaap Stam, and I don't believe it's even fucking close. They talk about, oh, Van Dijk's not lost for fucking X number of years. Jaap Stam lost no Premier League games at Old Trafford. None. Zero. He never knew what defeat was at home in fucking league at Manchester United. No, never. He didn't lose a game. None. That's dominance. He was fucking ridiculous. He probably wasn't as good as Rio on the ball, but he was such a fucking hard defender. He was so fucking difficult to play against. And when you look at him, he looks like he's on the door at Weatherspoons, but he's going to beat you in a fucking 100-meter race. Ridiculous. And then it's Rio and then it's Vidic. That's the best three the Premier League has ever seen. But a lot of United fans will argue amongst the order of that. And to be honest, they're not really wrong. It's preference. Some people prefer Vidic. Some people prefer Rio. I prefer Jaap Stam. There's a few people who prefer Jaap Stam. But do you know what? Gary Pallister should be in that conversation as well. But he's not because of how fucking good those three were. Gary Pallister could do everything those three could do. He just looked like a bag of shit doing it. I don't even know if Van Dijk's better than Sami Hyypiä because he was a fucking real good centre-half. MUFC LXXIV says Stam doesn't have the longevity. In terms of peak ability, he's the best, but doesn't get in an all-time 11. Yeah, I mean, he carried on doing what he was doing at AC Milan and that, but yeah. His peak at United was ridiculous. Noel says, if Carrick was playing now, you can bet Pep would have him over Rodri, top player. Rodri might be a step ahead, but we haven't seen what Carrick would look like in that City team where, you know, his forward passing would be ridiculous. Yeah. Jason says, look what happened to United after Carrick left. Indeed. S says, I've seen LFC fans discredit Mainu because he only stands out in a bad team, yet they downplayed Scholes and Keane because anyone could look good in that United team. If they discredit Mainu for standing out in a bad team, then you just want to fucking show them a photograph of Steven Gerrard and be like, are you prepared to rescind everything you've said? Box says Solek should have signed Ibrahimovic in 2009 after Tevez left. Fucking hell. Yeah, that would have been good, wouldn't it? Jason Bridge says Mark Hughes. Yeah, Mark Hughes sort of blotted his copybook a little bit with United fans by managing City. But yeah, in terms of what he was as a United player, undeniable. And one of the best goal celebrations ever, where he just fucking runs around slapping everyone. If you've not seen it, go Google it because it's funny as fuck. Atanga says, only player to ever dribble past Jaap Stam was Morientes. No one else ever did. Sam says, if you could pop Carrick behind Mainu, we'd all be laughing all the way to a league title. Fucking hell, you know. Jason says, Stam sold far too soon. Yeah, Fergie even admits he read the data wrong on it, didn't he? He said Stam wasn't making as many tackles as he was in his previous seasons. And in his mind, he was thinking that something had happened with the was it an Achilles operation that he had, and he was wondering, is he now not making as many tackles because of the Achilles injury? And they said they read the data wrong. Data was very new at the time. It'd only been around a couple of years. Like, United were absolutely instrumental in implementing Prozone into football, hugely influential in doing so. And they also credit with how we beat Juventus was because of the data that we got from Prozone. But it was early days of the data, and it was all on VHS stuff. And Fergie said they read the data wrong on Jaap Stam, and that's the problem sometimes with data, is that you can get data, but you don't necessarily... Data can say this, but you don't necessarily know what the underlying reasons for the data are, and they can be positive or negative. And what happened with Fergie and Jaap Stam was they see he's making less tackles. They think he's being less effective. Actually, he's being more effective. People don't want to run at Jaap Stam because he's going to fucking destroy them. And United are also holding the ball a lot better. That was why he was down on his tackles. It wasn't that he was not winning as many or whatever. People just weren't going near him, and he didn't have the opportunity to make tackles. It's like if you go and have a look at Kyle Walker's FB ref at the moment, it's really bad because he's not asked to do a lot. But when he does, he can be relied upon. So that's where you've got to blend the eye test and the data. Jason Bridge says Jarrad honestly reminds me of McTominay. Right. There's a scouser that's still been going on with himself in my fucking Twitter mentions. They all go, for example, could Roy Keane have done what Jarrad did in the 2005 final? No, he couldn't have done, because it's not in his makeup to be completely ill-disciplined for 45 minutes. Here's what I'll tell you. Just go and watch the goals, right? You don't have to watch the whole game. Go and watch the goals. If you watch the whole game, you'll be in for a treat, because there's stuff that I can't tell you what minute it happens in, but you'll laugh when you see it. But even the goals, Jarrad gets done for one of the goals and doesn't even fucking attempt to track back. Boom. I think it's either 1-0 or 2-0. And they're down, right? And then every time Milan break, he's nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. This is an anchoring central midfielder. Right. No, the reason Liverpool were 3-0 down at half-time is Jarrad's got the positional discipline of a fucking paper bag in the wind, right? Fact. Then, in the second half, they put Haman on next to Xabi Alonso, two good fucking central midfielders who actually know their role. And I think they take Kewell off and they say, Steven Gerrard, you go and roil the Rovers the shit out of this, right? And if you look at all of the goals that happen for Liverpool in the second half, Gerrard is beyond the line of the box. He's not playing in midfield. He's playing kind of up front somewhere. Back to what we were saying earlier, where you say Scott McTominay benefits from being the fourth man in an attacking three. Gerrard was ghosting into the final third and attacking because no one was picking him up, because he was fucking out of position still. And then he dives for the fucking penalty. And honestly, it is a horrendous dive. And no one ever talks about how he's a fucking diving, cheating cunt, because that's exactly what he is. Talk to me about fucking the greatest moment of his life that he dived for. So could Roy Keane do that? No, because Roy Keane can look himself in a fucking mirror and know that he's never fucking dived or nearly cost his team a title with his fucking actions. Anyway. Daniel says Xabi Alonso was the orchestrator of that final, not Gerrard. Correct. If you watch Match of the Day, that's the move. Ed says Gerrard is at fault for the Kaká goal. Notch says Roy wouldn't have had us 3-0 down. Damian says, do you think we actually need a second striker or buy someone like Elise and have the likes of McNeil and Hugel understudy? They might be a little bit off it. Atanga says Stan was very intimidating. Fact. Alex says, would love to see where are they now based on previous transfers that we've identified, especially given they still have potential for us to get in. That'd be a good one. Yeah, that would be a good one. MUFC LXIV says, most overrated performance ever. He was great in the FA Cup final against West Ham, to be fair. But yeah, he has the sort of performances that catch the eye because people aren't seeing the shit that, you know, where he lets fucking Demba Ba take the title off him. Yeah, no, you can't put him and Roy Keane in the same conversation at all. Yeah. Just fucking stop it. Stop it. But because he's got the entire Liverpool fan base advocating for him because they had a just fucking pish like Patrick Berger to fucking deal with for years, they advocate for him. And the other one that they might have advocated for would have been Michael Owen, but he left them when he had the opportunity to go to Real Madrid. I mean, he won a Ballon d'Or with them. On 16 goals, it might be said. Can you imagine that? Rashford scored more goals than Michael Owen did when he won a Ballon d'Or last year. Do you think anyone was ready to argue for him winning a Ballon d'Or? No, I didn't think so. Right, so 16 goals, Michael Owen wins a Ballon d'Or when they did their plastic treble. And he wins a Ballon d'Or. Now, they might have advocated for him, but he left to go to Real Madrid, so they were never going to advocate for him. And then when he came and won a title at United, when they still hadn't won a title, they were never going to advocate for him. So that's one of those, isn't it? Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. Fuck the Scousers, as always. And let me know your all-time 11s. And do it by decade, because I think that's the only way you can do it. You can't do an all-time Premier League 11. If you do, there is a case you could make that the all-time Premier League 11 is 11 United players. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me I'm wrong. See you in a bit. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.